Stefan Kowalski placed his finger on the firing mechanism. He wasn't calculating trajectory anymore. He was calculating souls. 50 civilians inside, 7 soldiers dying outside. The mathematics of war had never been this simple, or this impossible. Monte Cassino, May 1944. The monastery stood like a white ghost on the mountaintop, watching over the valley where men turned into corpses every hour. Stefan crouched behind his mortar position, hands trembling not from cold, but from something far worse, certainty. He had been a mathematics teacher in Warsaw before the war. Back then, numbers had clear answers. 2 + 2 = 4. Always, forever, clean. But here, on this Italian mountainside, the equation had changed. How many deaths equal victory? How many innocents can you sacrifice to save your brothers? The radio crackled. Kowalski, status report. Stefan pressed the receiver. His voice came out steady, professional. Inside, he was braking. Mortar position established. Target acquired. Awaiting final confirmation on civilian presence. Negative on civilians. German propaganda. Fire when ready. But Stefan had seen them. Through his binoculars, 2 hours ago, he had watched an old woman in a black dress move past a broken window. Then a child. Then another. The Germans were using the monastery as a sniper nest, yes, but they weren't alone in there. The real order hadn't come yet, the one that would make him choose. Stefan's hands moved automatically, checking the mortar tube, adjusting the angle. Muscle memory from 6 months of training, 6 months of becoming someone else, someone who could kill. Warsaw felt like a dream now. His classroom, his students, his wife Maria, her face was getting harder to remember. The Germans had taken her in 1940. He never found out where. Some questions don't have answers. Some equations can't be solved. That's when Stefan had stopped being a teacher and started being a weapon. He joined the Polish II Corps, in exile, fought across North Africa, watched friends die in the sand. And now here, at Monte Cassino, the British commanders had given the Polish forces one job: take the monastery, break the German defensive line, open the road to Rome. The cost didn't matter. Victory was the only number that counted. But Stefan still believed in other numbers. 50 civilians, maybe more. A crack echoed across the valley, then a scream. Stefan's head snapped toward the forward position. Private Wojcik, just 19 years old, collapsed against the rock wall, blood spreading across his chest. The German sniper had found another target. "Medic!" someone shouted. But there was no medic close enough. There never was. Stefan watched through his binoculars as Wojcik's body went still. That made 7. 7 Polish soldiers killed by that sniper in the last 4 hours. 7 men who had survived Egypt, survived Tunisia, survived everything, only to die here, picked off one by an invisible enemy inside. Those sacred walls. The radio crackled again. "Kowalski, command wants that nest eliminated. Now." Stefan's finger hovered over the trigger mechanism. One shot. He could end this. The mortar round would arc perfectly, crash through the monastery's roof, explode in the bell tower where the sniper was positioned. Tactical perfection. But the blast radius didn't care about tactics. It didn't distinguish between armed and unarmed, between soldier and civilian. And that's when he saw it. Movement in the eastern window, a piece of white fabric, waving slowly, deliberately. Stefan adjusted his binoculars, focusing on the window. Behind the cloth, he could make out a small hand, a child's hand, his breath caught. The child was signaling, not surrendering. Signaling. 3 waves, pause. 5 waves, pause. 2 waves. Stefan's mind raced. 352. Was it a code, a warning, or just a terrified child waving anything white they could find, hoping someone would see, hoping someone would care? "Kowalski!" The radio again. "Fire mission authorized. Execute immediately." Stefan's hand moved to the mortar round. Cold metal, explosive payload, simple physics. Angle plus velocity plus gravity equals impact. He had done this calculation 100 times, but never with a child watching. Lieutenant Novak crawled up beside Stefan's position, breathing hard. Blood on his uniform, not his own. "We lost Tomasz. Sniper got him through the throat. 8 now. 8 dead." Stefan, you have to fire. They're slaughtering us down there. Stefan didn't look away from the monastery. There are civilians inside. Command says there aren't. Command is wrong. Novak grabbed Stefan's shoulder, forcing him to turn. The lieutenant's eyes were red, exhausted. Listen to me. I have orders to take that position with or without artillery support. If you don't fire, I'm sending 40 men up that hill, and most of them won't come back. So you tell me, teacher, what's your equation now? 50 people you think are inside, or 40 soldiers you know are here? Stefan's jaw clenched. That was the question, wasn't it? The only question that mattered. Certainty versus possibility. The living versus the maybe living. Another shot rang out, another scream. Private Zielinski this time, clutching his leg, dragging himself behind cover. 9 wounded or dead. Novak stood up. I'm giving the assault order in 5 minutes, with or without you. He crawled away, leaving Stefan alone with his mortar and his conscience. Stefan looked back at the monastery. The white cloth was still there, waving. Slower now, tired. He closed his eyes. In his mind, he was back in Warsaw, standing in front of his classroom. 30 students watching him, 30 faces waiting for the answer. Mr. Kowalski, one of them had asked once, what do you do when the math doesn't work? He had smiled. Math always works. You just haven't found the right formula yet. But that was a lie, wasn't it? Some problems don't have solutions. Some equations are designed to break you. The radio crackled one more time. Kowalski, final order. Fire on target. Acknowledge. Stefan picked up the receiver. His voice came out hollow. Acknowledged. He loaded the mortar round. Checked the angle. Double-checked the calculations. His hands moved with precision, with practice, with the muscle memory of a man who had done this too many times. But something was wrong. His finger was on the trigger, but it wouldn't move. His body had stopped obeying. Some part of him, the part that used to teach children, the part that used to believe in right answers, had shut down. He thought of Maria. What would she say if she were here? Would she tell him to fire? To save his brothers in arms? Or would she put her hand on his and whisper, "Not like this"? The white cloth stopped waving. Stefan's heart hammered in his chest. Had they given up? Had they? Then he saw her, the old woman in black. She appeared in the same window, standing beside the child. She wasn't waving. She was just standing there, looking down at the valley, looking directly at Stefan's position. She knew. Somehow, she knew. And she wasn't running. She was just waiting, accepting, ready. Stefan's hand began to shake. Kowalski, what are you waiting for? The radio voice was angry now. Fire! Below him, Novak was gathering the assault team, 40 men, checking weapons, preparing to charge up the hill into certain death. 40 or 50, those were his choices. Stefan's finger tightened on the trigger, but then something shifted. A thought. A memory, a voice from another life. What do you do when the math doesn't work? You change the equation. Stefan dropped the firing mechanism. His hands moved to the radio. Command, this is Kowalski. Negative on fire mission. Civilian presence confirmed. Requesting alternative targeting solutions. Silence. Then, repeat your last transmission. Negative on fire mission. I have visual confirmation of non-combatants in the target building. Request permission to adjust firing solution to suppress sniper position without structural collapse. Kowalski, you are ordered to... Stefan switched off the radio. He grabbed his rifle and crawled down to Novak's position. The lieutenant looked at him with cold eyes. You didn't fire. No, but I have another solution. There is no other solution. Yes, there is. Stefan pointed to the monastery's bell. Tower. The sniper is in the northwest corner. 3rd floor. If we can get a suppression team to the east wall, I can place mortar rounds on the opposite side, close enough to force him away from his position, but far enough to avoid the main structure where the civilians are sheltering. Novak stared at him. That's insane. The margin for error is 3 meters. I know. I've done the calculations. And if you're wrong, if I'm wrong, we lose the civilians and probably don't get the sniper anyway. Stefan met his eyes. But if I'm right, we suppress the nest, Your assault team moves in while he's displaced, and we take the position with minimal casualties on both sides. You're risking my men on your conscience. No, I'm risking my conscience on your men. Novak was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. You get one shot. If it doesn't work, we go with the original plan. Understood. Stefan crawled back to his mortar. His hands were steady now. Purpose had replaced doubt. Not certainty. He would never have certainty again. But purpose. He recalculated everything. Angle, distance, powder charge, wind speed. The blast had to be close enough to shatter windows, to fill the sniper's position with smoke and debris, to force him to move. But far enough away from the eastern wing where he'd seen the civilians. 3 meters of margin. In artillery terms, that was threading a needle. He loaded a smoke round first, marking shot, then the high explosive. Novak, ready your team. 30 seconds after impact, you move. Acknowledged. Stefan took one last look at the monastery. The old woman was gone. The window was empty. He said a prayer, to God, to Maria, to whatever force governed the mathematics of mercy. Then he fired. The mortar round arced into the sky, a perfect parabola, physics in motion. Stefan watched its trajectory, calculating, adjusting, praying. It disappeared over the monastery wall. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3. The explosion erupted from the northwest corner. Smoke and debris blasted outward. Windows shattered. Stone cracked, but the main structure held. Go, go, go! Novak's voice echoed across the valley. The assault team surged forward, using the smoke as cover. Stefan loaded another round, fired again. More smoke, more suppression. For 90 seconds the world was chaos. Gunfire, shouting, explosions, then silence. Stefan's radio crackled. Novak's voice, breathless. We're in. Sniper neutralized. Building secured. Stefan closed his eyes. Civilians? A pause, long enough to stop Stefan's heart. 43 civilians. Eastern wing, mostly elderly and children. They're alive. Stefan's hands went slack. The radio fell into the dirt. Around him, soldiers were cheering, celebrating the victory. But Stefan just sat there, numb, exhausted, broken. He had changed the equation, and somehow, impossibly, it had worked. But he would never know if it was skill or luck, mathematics or miracle. Lieutenant Novak appeared beside him an hour later. Command wants to court-martial you for refusing a direct order. Stefan nodded. He had expected that. But the British general saw what you did. He's recommending you for the Virtuti Militari instead. Novak paused. You saved a lot of lives today, Stefan. Theirs and ours. I just changed the math. No. Novak shook his head. You chose a different answer. That's not the same thing. As the sun set over Monte Cassino, Stefan packed up his equipment. The monastery still stood on the hilltop, damaged but not destroyed. Somewhere inside, 43 people were alive who might not have been, and somewhere in Warsaw, in a classroom that no longer existed. A teacher had once told his students that math always works. He had been wrong. Sometimes the only answer is to refuse the question. If you found this story powerful, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more untold stories from World War II.